Robert Vincent O'Neil, Film Mania, Take One.
Welcome to the premiere episode of the Masters of the Grind Grindcast. We're here with legendary Grindhouse director Robert Vincent O'Neil. We're here to celebrate him and honor him and talk about some of his film experiences. And we hope you enjoy this show. So Robert, let me ask you right off the bat. I want you to tell me the story about how you broke into the film industry.
That's a good question. I'm not sure how I did it. It just happened. I had an opportunity to do a film. Oh, I know what happened. We used to have a guy follow us around. I can't recall his name, but he wore a steel hat and a button that said, "Love America or Leave It." And I remember that I went on location with Easy Rider, with Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, and we were on the road. And somewhere around, I don't know, maybe Kansas, somewhere like that, I got a phone call from Richard Compton saying, I got $35,000 to do a film. And I said, you have the cash? And he says, I have a check. I'm going to deposit it today. I said, great, deposit it. And we'll start work on it when I get back from Easy Rider. And while I'm on Easy Rider, I'll start making notes for a story, which is exactly what I did. And I called Richard and gave him the notes, and we ended up with Like Mother, Like Daughter. Richard produced it, and I directed it. Got lucky with the cast. Victoria Bond was wonderful. It was a great cast, and we shot the film in 9 days. And I think it cost around $30,000 or $35,000. And it was the first time, and it got released right away. It got, we sold it immediately, no problems. And it was the first time in my life that I went to the mailbox, opened it, and there was a check in it, a residual. And that happened for maybe the next 6 months.
And what happened to it? It seems like the film was like virtually lost.
Yeah, it was like lost. It, I don't know what happened to it. I worked at a prop house. I can't remember the name of it, but I showed them the film.
A film of monumental importance, unequaled even by contemporary European cinema, dares to treat a shocking subject openly, truthfully.
Like Mother, Like Daughter. And they said to me, I remember they said to me, you shot this film in 9 days or 8 days, whatever it was, for $35,000, whatever it was. And I said, yes. And they said, can you do it again? And I said, yeah, sure.
Right now we have somebody from Like Mother, Like Daughter that would like to talk to you.
No kidding, really?
And if we could bring in our first guest. Steve.
Who's that?
It's Victoria Bond.
It's so great to see you. My goodness gracious.
So great to see you.
Wow.
It's been years. Yeah, I know.
It's been an eternity. My goodness. Are you still are you still a conductor?
A conductor and composer, yes, still doing both.
And that's what you're doing all the time? Are you
That's it. That's my job.
You do it in different countries.
I've got 3 concerts coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Well, bless your heart. What music are you doing?
On this Monday, it's Cutting Edge Concerts New Music Festival, and we're doing a piece that I wrote for trombone called The Voices of Air.
That trombone, I love that instrument. That's a great
instrument. Me too. And we've got some great trombonists. We've got the trombonist from the New York Philharmonic, principal trombone, Joe Alessi, principal trombone from the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. It's my good fortune that the Met and the New York Phil are not having any concerts, so I get to have these fabulous musicians on my series. This is a whole concert devoted to the trombone. It's called The Art of the 21st Century Trombone.
Wow.
And we have 5 different trombonists from the Met, from New York Phil. Yeah, so it's a trombone fest.
Yeah.
And then after that, I wrote a new string quartet that's going to be premiered on the 18th. And that's based on a painting of Georgia O'Keeffe. So
Georgia O'Keeffe, yes, in New
yeah,
Mexico.
yeah,
In New Mexico.
that's right.
Yeah, I love her work.
Me too. And the last time I saw you, you were shooting footage of the concert that I did at Los Angeles County Museum.
I was. I did.
Yeah, I
Yes.
remember that so well. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
great to see you. I was so glad you could come.
Do you ever do Rachmaninoff?
Yeah, I've done the symphony. I've done the second symphony. I've done the
My
concertos.
favorite music. Rachmaninoff.
Really,
Yeah.
I love them. Yeah,
Yeah.
great composer.
Yeah.
Very passionate.
Yeah.
Well, you look terrific. You really do. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. 90.
That is very inspiring. Very inspiring.
Yeah. I don't feel that old at all. So I'm wondering maybe somebody made a mistake on my birthday.
Yeah. Well, you sure don't act your age. I gotta say that. And you certainly don't look your age either. So
Well,
you're an inspiration to us
Isn't
all.
this delightful? I mean, it's
Oh,
wonderful.
Great. Zoom is a wonderful thing, right? We can be together even though you're in Tucson and I'm in New York.
Yeah. You're in New York?
Well, we're out in East Hampton right now, and it's a beautiful day. Spring has finally sprung, and the weather is gorgeous. So we're really happy.
I have one of my daughters here, and she lives in Hampton, East Hampton, right?
Well, I met Nicole.
That's who I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I met her when she was working at the Plaza, and we had a drink together at the Plaza quite a few years ago. So, yeah. Hello, Nicole, if you're over there.
She's right here on my left, off screen.
Okay.
Off your right friend.
Yes, yes. Hello, Nicole, and great to catch up with you again. Hope we see each other.
You want to talk to her?
You can talk to her.
Yeah, I'm in Southampton. Let's do it.
Great. I'm in East Hampton.
Cool.
We divide our time. We divide our time between Manhattan. We're there 4 days a week, and we're out here 3 days a week. So we divide our time
You
that
should
way.
make arrangements for you guys to see each other somehow.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I remember what a fabulous director you were,
Oh.
and how considerate you were. There was a nude scene,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
right, and you were a total gentleman and very, very considerate, because I hadn't done that before, and so I was in my
Neither had
20s.
I.
So I was in my
That was a
20s.
new experience for me.
How was he as a director, being that he was a first-time director? Was he efficient and
Yeah, that was my first film.
You know, I never would have known that. You obviously knew what you were doing from the get-go. So, born to direct, right?
Well, I had a lot of stage, experience directing. I've been directing for years, but on the stage.
Uh-huh.
My first film.
Well, there are a lot of similarities, though, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because you were so considerate to all of the actors, and you were also well organized. Another quality that I highly admire. You didn't waste people's time.
Was something I learned right away, and I don't remember where I learned it, but I learned it early on, was to be decisive, even if I didn't know what I was doing. I had to pretend. I said, okay, the camera goes there. I want it chest high, and I want it to pan slightly to the left. That was just baloney. It was just me establishing my credentials.
Right. But you also had great instincts. So I think what you
I guess, yeah. I've had a lot of stage experience. That's why we got lucky with
Right. Did you start out as an actor yourself?
I started out in Tucson. I was part of a drama department there that was,
Okay.
I worked with for about 3 years. And yes, I started as an actor, but gradually my interest shifted from acting to directing. I seem to have a natural affinity for directing, you know.
What's so great about the fact that you were an actor because you understood actors?
Right, I understood actors, right, and that I love working with them. And after maybe 10 or 15 or 20 minutes of talking and exchanging ideas, you get a sense of what buttons to push, what direction to go into, and what to look for, because every actor is an individual. They're no two are the same.
And one thing I remember so clearly about you as director was that you made us all feel very safe. We were stretching out, doing some pretty emotional scenes, as I remember.
Yes, we did. Right.
Yeah, and you made me, at any rate, you made me feel very safe, like I could do anything and it would be okay.
I appreciate hearing that. Yeah, that's what you try to do. That's what you want to do. I don't want to tell anybody what to do. I don't want to tell them what to say or how to act or anything. That's your business. That's what you do. But I want you to feel safe, and I want you to have an understanding of what we're doing and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve. And that's it.
Right. You set the frame and let us put
you did the work
in the frame.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
We were at some very fancy posh house. I remember that. And I remember driving. This is a vivid memory. I drove with a leading man on a motorcycle on the freeway in Los Angeles. And let me tell you, it was an experience where I felt this close to death. I had never been on a motorcycle on the freeway. And it was exciting, but it was also terrifying.
I remember now where we were. Los Feliz. We were up by the Los Feliz section, mansions.
Yes.
Griffith Park, all mansions.
Yeah, it was a very
and we turned this one mansion into a studio. And we were there from beginning to the end of shoot, right? We didn't have to move. That's one of the reasons why we got, more value out of our dollar.
I remember a lot of seduction scenes and I think a rape scene. Those I remember.
I remember the scene where, killed you guys both. And what I wanted to do is I pointed the camera at the gun muzzle and I wanted to catch the wad coming out of that pistol.
Wow.
And having it be a stand-in for a bullet, and it worked. That's how we ended the picture.
You were way ahead, and there were no computer graphics at that time.
No. Whatever we did on camera.
That's it.
Victoria, unfortunately, we have to go right now.
That's fine, of course.
But we want to thank you for stopping by, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. And
well, listen, it's great to see Robert again. And
it was great to see you, Victoria.
Happy birthday.
Wonderful seeing you and talking.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
and keep
it.
up. I want to see the next 90 years.
The next 90 years?
That's what I said.
Okay. All right. You got it, kiddo. You got it.
All
It's
right.
yours.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, honey.
Thank
It was
you.
great seeing you.
Great to see you too.
Hey, are you pretty excited about tonight?
Yeah, it's a great group. I love working with them. They're
Yeah.
really terrific musicians, and
Yeah.
they like the piece a lot. So
I never heard anything like it.
the instruments are just, they're
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
unique. Is the
Yeah,
only way
yeah.
I can say it. They're influenced by a lot of other cultures, influenced by Greek music, by world music. The percussion sound from like they are. From the Orient.
I was going to say it has an
Yeah,
Asian
that's
feeling
right.
to it sometimes,
Mhm,
you
yeah.
know. And when we get downstairs, that's something that we'll bring out,
Mhm.
Kind of what I thought that we would talk about. Well, first of all, this is about, here's what all of this is about.
Yeah.
It's about you, right? And Mr. Partch. The orchestra down there, right? It's about me because this is part of Jason's film. Have you got a title for this?
My film,
Yeah,
Masters of the Grind.
there you go.
Okay.
Masters of the Grind. I'm one of the masters, right? I guess. Anyway, it's about that, okay? And then it's about you and I,
Right,
and this weird
right.
connection.
And this wonderful friendship over
Yeah.
all these years.
And a very strange connection that we have, you
yeah,
know,
Yeah.
and how we rediscovered each other.
Well,
It's
this-
about that.
Exactly. Seeing you last year at the concert here was just, it was so
Yeah, it was a
wonderful.
mind blower
It
for me,
was,
yeah.
truly.
You know,
And
you
you-
were stunned.
Yeah, I was, and you didn't know I was a musician, so
No, I had no idea.
yeah. So we're really
Yeah.
connecting on a different
Go ahead,
level.
shoot.
Was that the first? Did you guys just randomly reconnect that way?
You're going to hear about it downstairs.
Okay.
So these are some of the questions. Just I'll give you a little heads up
Sure.
here, right?
Yep.
I'm going to kind of half-ass introduce myself because I'm in this film,
Right.
Masters of the Grind, right? And I'm kind of the guest and a host at the same time.
That's right.
Okay, and then I'm going to introduce you. Okay, and the connection we have without revealing the connection, right? And then I'm going to ask you, what in the world are we doing here?
Okay.
Right.
What are these strange and wonderful instruments behind
Right,
us?
right. And another thing I'll probably bring up is when I first walked in the theater yesterday, and I saw those instruments there.
Yeah,
I
what do you
didn't.
think?
I thought that they were sculptures because we
Well,
were in a museum.
And they are like sculpture.
It's a work of art. They are
really
pieces of art, aren't
yes,
they? Well,
they
that's
are.
what I thought they
All
were.
handmade.
I didn't know that those
Yep.
were the instruments.
Yeah,
Which is kind of
wonderful.
interesting, right? Oh yeah, we're going to talk about how we reunited when you were here a year and 14 months ago, something like that.
No, it was a year ago, last
Yeah.
May. Last May,
And
actually.
I read about the concert in the LA Times. We're going to talk about that. I thought, without revealing anything now, we'd talk about the horse in Columbus Circle.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
Okay.
great fun.
And
And I just found out about your love of horses, which I didn't know about.
yeah. And I'm going to, during the course of the thing down there, I'm going to introduce Jeremy, and Stevie, the other cameraman, and this guy that's making the film,
Right.
whatever his name is.
Jason, yes.
Yeah. And then I thought we'd talk about your career because I don't really
okay.
know anything about it,
Okay. All
you
right.
know?
Long
And,
line of musicians.
Yeah. And I'll say something in there where we're going to keep the time frame loose.
Okay.
Everything occurred in the last century or two, right?
Well, I
So
may
we'll
be-
just keep it loose.
I'm 200, but I don't look my
Right.
age.
And, I was thinking that we also might talk about your future plans
Okay.
too.
Okay.
And we can talk about, my future plans and
Yeah. The
Jason's future plans.
film you're
you know.
writing right now.
And then kind of wrap it up a little bit,
Okay.
right?
Sounds
And that
good.
also I might wrap it up on the fact that neither you nor I have seen this picture in years.
That's right. No, I
Right.
mean, I don't even know if I saw the whole film. I know I saw segments of
Yeah,
it,
you probably
but
did.
I don't think I saw the whole film.
And a lot of what we're talking about right here,
Yeah.
right? We will repeat, of course,
Sure.
down there.
Sure.
Right? So this is just a little grab section
Right.
that
This
we've
is
got
sort of
right
the
here.
backstage.
Right. I noticed in your
Preview.
makeup kit you have almost as much as I have in mine.
Really? I don't know. I just see a razor there. It's
But
all right.
basically,
You-
these are the lead-ins and the cues to what we're going to talk about.
Well, you always have good things to say, so I don't mind if you do
Okay.
the talking.
All right. Yeah, but we want you to talk.
Well, I'm going to be talking through my music, right?
Yes.
Ready whenever you are.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Robert Vincent O'Neil, and I'm one of the masters of the grind. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in this film, I guess. And this lovely lady sitting next to me here is Victoria Bond. And Victoria and I have a bond of sorts that goes way back. But before we get to that, right, I want to cover why we are here in this place. We are in the Bing Theater on the grounds of the Los Angeles County Art Museum, LACMA, right?
Correct.
Victoria, tell us why we're here right now.
Well, I've written a composition for the Harry Partch instruments. And that's the instruments that you see on the stage
I know.
here.
They're-
And the group that's performing it is called Partch, in honor of Harry Partch.
And this is John Snyder's group.
Exactly, John Snyder's group called Partch. And I met Harry Partch many years ago when I sang in an opera of his called Delusion of the Fury. And I fell in love with these instruments at that time.
I can see why.
They're very unique.
Incredible. I have to tell you, yesterday at rehearsal when I first walked in here, and I saw these instruments for the very first time, because this is a museum, I thought that they were a sculpture. Well, they are a work of art.
That's right. They're all handmade and they're all one of a kind. These are not the original instruments. These are reproductions of the originals, which are in Montclair, New Jersey. But they're very faithful reproductions, and of course the sound is...
the sound is incredible.
Yes.
And of course you'll see that later in this documentary that because Jason Rutherford, the producer and director of this documentary, and Jeremy Adams, the cinematographer, will be photographing the performance, and you will be conducting.
Correct.
A composition that you wrote. I think,
Yes.
if I recall, it's in 4 movements.
It's in 4 movements. It's called There Isn't Time, which is, this concert is in conjunction with an art exhibit of John Baldessari. And I've taken the name of my piece and the name of each of the movements from Baldessari's artwork. And so the piece is called There Isn't Time. The first movement is called Line of Force. Second movement is Falling Clouds.
Ah, yes. I know what you're talking about.
Right.
Those crystals in the back.
That's right,
Yes,
the beautiful
right.
bowls,
Yes,
the glass
yeah,
bowls.
the bowls in the back. And the third movement?
Third movement is called Spaces Between, and the last movement is called Story with 24 Versions.
And then, of course, you're the start of the second half of this presentation.
Exactly,
That's going to be here
exactly.
this evening. Right, okay. All right, so now perhaps we should talk about us.
Okay.
Our unsavory past.
Savory.
Savory past. Our shady past. Okay. I met you some time ago. We'll keep the time frame loose, but this was my very first film that we're going to be talking about. And you are one of the 2 stars in it. The film was called Like Mother, Like Daughter, later released as Sins of the Daughter, and you played the daughter, a very alluring young lady who seduced her mother's lover. Let's put it that way, right?
Most unsavory.
And it's kind of a Hitchcock type story, you know. And I don't remember the day that we met, you know. But I know. Perhaps I should tell how this picture got started.
Yes, please. Yes,
Right.
It was such an interesting story.
Yeah. You know, at that time, I was just a crazy guy that wanted to make movies, right?
Well, you were doing props on a very famous film, if I recall correctly.
Right. I was doing props on Easy Rider.
Exactly.
And at the time, Peter Fonda came down with the flu, and we were in Taos, New Mexico. And a buddy of mine, that we had collaborated on a screenplay, and we were crazy about making pictures, and we worked on a Boris Karloff film together, doing props, etc. And we were always talking about how we could make a movie for nothing, you know. And he calls me up, we're in Taos, and he says, "I've got $30,000 to make a movie." And I said, "You're kidding, you really do?" And he said, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "Well, as soon as I'm done with this picture, I'll get home and we'll sit down and we'll write the script," which we did. And it's kind of a Hitchcockian type story. And at that time, these pictures, they had no story, you know. It was just an excuse to take off clothes, and the music wasn't any good, and the actors were amateur actors. But we got together a group of professional actors, like yourself, right?
Thank you.
And I didn't know at the time that you were a musician, so we got together with somebody to score the film. I had a great cinematographer, Ross Kelsey, and we shot this film in 9 days.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Truly amazing.
Incredible. You know, I don't believe it today, you know. But we did it. Of course, it only took 6 months to put it together. I made so many mistakes, you know, right? And I don't recall the day that we met, but I do remember that I was very much impressed with you almost immediately. And I remember a couple of the sequences that we filmed. One is, for some crazy reason, I had you and a young lady in a swimming pool where there's no water, remember? Do
Oh,
you
yes,
recall that?
yes,
We
yes,
were in
right.
an empty swimming pool.
That's right. Definitely a Hitchcockian scene.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I remember is the day that we shot the ending, and you had seduced your mother's lover. I think the guy's name was, I can't remember all these actors.
Tony, I think.
Yeah, Tony. That was the character
Oh,
name.
yeah.
But
right.
his name was Sebastian.
Uh-huh.
If that was his real name, we're not sure, right? Very good actor. And your mother finds out about it, comes back, catches you in bed with your lover, right? And her reaction is to pull out a .45 and shoot him, and then shoot you.
Thanks, Mom.
Then you and I lost track.
Yes, right. Until last year.
Right. And one morning I'm having breakfast, I'm reading the paper, and I'm reading an article about 4 or 5 ladies who have become renowned conductors and composers, and it kind of shattered the glass ceiling of male conductors for 400 or 500 years. Right? And the name I see down there is Victoria Bond. And I thought, wait a minute.
Is that the same person?
Is that the same? And there was a picture in the paper, but it was of you conducting from the side or the back, so I couldn't tell. Right? So I took a chance. I showed up.
You came to my concert, yes.
Came to your concert.
Right.
And I remember I came early. I remember walking in, and and a gentleman came out, and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Do you know Victoria Bond?" Right? He said, "Yes, I'm her husband," which we'll talk about him in a minute.
We'll get to the source,
yeah.
right?
And I said, "Well," I introduced myself, and I said, "Victoria starred in one of my movies." He said, "Wait there." And the next thing he did is got you, brought you out.
Right. And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
But tell us about what happened after you offered to feed a horse in Columbus Circle a carrot.
Right. Well, I was a student at the Juilliard School, and I've always loved horses. We were talking about our mutual love of horses, and people said you'll outgrow it. Well, I never did.
Right.
And I'm just giving you a little background. And also, Juilliard didn't have very good food, and I'm a Californian. I was born in Los Angeles, so I always had my carrots and celery and stuff with me. And Columbus Circle in New York was there were a lot of drunks and derelicts hanging out there, and it was a very uncomfortable
Not
place.
the touristy spot it is today.
No, but even then at night, it's not always so. It's better now, but then it was really pretty bad. And I had to go across Columbus Circle in order to get back to my apartment at night. So I am about to cross, and I see 2 mounted policemen. And I remembered I had a carrot in my pocket. So I went over to one of the officers and I said, "Can I feed your horse a carrot?" And he said, "No one has ever asked me that." He said, "Sometimes they offer my horse a lump of sugar. Mostly they just want to pet his nose. But no one has ever offered a carrot." He said, "I'll tell you what, I will allow you to feed my horse a carrot if you give me your phone number."
And you did.
I did, and I was kicking myself all the way home thinking, a policeman, what do I have, what are we going to talk about, guns?
Right.
And it turns out that he was an attorney, and he was actually working on Watergate at the time.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's interesting.
yeah, and I, being the musician that I was, I said, "What's Watergate?" So
Right.
we knew we had a level playing field there.
And he ended up being
My husband, yes,
right.
Stephen
And that was
Peskin.
the gentleman I met right here that
Stephen
day. A year ago.
Peskin, yes,
Right.
indeed.
Listen, I don't really know anything about you between Juilliard and the day that we met here
Oh,
a year
well,
and a half ago. So
Sure.
give me a little bit of a capsule of what's
I
happened.
graduated from Juilliard. My first job was with Andre Previn, certainly known to the film world. He was music director of the Pittsburgh Symphony, and that was my first job as assistant conductor. It was called Exxon Arts Endowment Conductor because it was sponsored by the Exxon Corporation. And I was there for a number of years. That was my apprenticeship, as it were. And at the same time, I was music director of an orchestra and an opera company in New York. It was the New Amsterdam Symphony and the Bel Canto Opera Company. So I really had my hands both in symphonic work and in opera work from the get-go.
And when did you start conducting?
Well, when that was my degree from Juilliard. I had got my doctorate from Juilliard in orchestral conducting. I was always a composer. I wanted to have a double major, but they didn't have a double major at the time, and I realized I needed to learn a lot about conducting.
And you've plied your trade all over the world, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You've
Yes, I
traveled
have.
all over the world conducting.
China and Brazil and Europe, and yeah, no, it's wonderful, and I love the relationship with musicians. As a
Yeah.
composer, it's so great because so much of your time is spent, as you know, as a writer, so much of your time is spent alone. with you and the material.
Alone.
And being a conductor,
Me
you
and a
know,
blank page.
That's it.
Right,
And
yeah.
as a conductor, you're with the orchestra, you're with people, you have a lot of feedback.
I'm so sorry we lost touch because how desperate I was for composers for scoring films that I made, you know, and you would have been just great.
Well-
Okay, well look, it's just terrific touching base with you again. And what's coming up, do you know?
Yes, I'm writing an opera about Clara Schumann, a very interesting, very dramatic woman.
Schumann, any relationship to
The wife.
Robert Schumann?
That was Robert Schumann's wife, Clara Schumann, and she was a big star in her own right. She was a very famous pianist, more famous
A
than
musician.
he was. Yes, a pianist.
And she performed his pieces?
She performed her pieces, his pieces, Brahms' music. She was a very, very famous pianist and a very fascinating woman. So I'm writing an opera about her. I just got back from Germany, where I've been for the past 3 weeks.
On another opera, if I
No,
recall.
on this one.
Oh,
on this one. Yes,
Oh.
I'm writing this one.
Oh,
Yeah. And,
right. I thought it was something else.
No,
right,
on
yeah.
this one, yes. And then I have a new music series in New York called Cutting Edge Concerts. And so I have a lot of preparations to do for that throughout the year. And then I'm doing a lot of new pieces. I'm doing a ballet for Ballet Chicago called Instruments of Revelation. A nice title.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you know that I'm working on a piece now.
Yes,
writing a
right.
script
The
now.
confirmation, if I
Confirmation, right? And it's a Cain and Abel story with a Sicilian mafia background that covers from like 1941 to 1979. It's like a Greek tragedy. But we're going to be talking about that, and we might get to work together again.
Love to.
Wouldn't that be
Love
great?
to. That would.
Yeah. Well, listen, great seeing you.
Hey, wonderful. Wonderful to see you again.
Right. Bye. Okay. How is that?
Great.